It was a big week for Newcastle after making the biggest signing from a monetary perspective in the history of the NRL, and after seeing everyone give their opinion, you could see why the Hunter natives would be willing to throw down with Adam O'Brien and Peter O'Sullivan. But that is one way to make your fans very happy. The Knights were 26-12 winners over the Dolphins, and that scoreline is pretty flattering because Newcastle completely pulverised the Dolphins. I haven't made my video on the Dylan Brown signing because I've been so busy, but I do think the Knights lack to find a second superstar to partner Ponga would have forced them into thinking that they had to make this Dylan Brown signing because their attack has been so Ponga reliant even dating back to that back half of 2022. From that perspective, you could see why maybe the Knights may have felt they were forced into paying overs to finally give Ponga that second superstar and give him some help from the attacking perspective, but this Fletcher Sharp kid can play some serious football. He's only 20, he turns 21 in May, but Sharp has already showed some great signs as an electric finisher last season. But when the rumours came out that O'Brien was going to move him to the halves, I thought this was another classic case of an NRL coach just outthinking the room, especially with Adam's track record of forever changing his halves combinations. Then there's also rumours they have been training Will Price as a fullback who they brought to the club as a young gun 6. It didn't sit well, but I'll put my hand up, Adsy. Surprisingly, you may know more than this Northern Beaches ranger. It may have only been 2 weeks, but from this very small sample size, this does seem like a masterstroke. Going forward, if I can be a negative Nancy for a second, it does seem like it's going to create a headache for the Knights long term. You probably say Bradman Best is the Knights' second best player behind Ponga, who is one of the best pure centers in the NRL, and he has proved that on the biggest stage. I'll never be sorry to bring up State of Origin Game 3. However, because he is in the spine, Sharp is got to be the Knights' second biggest attacking threat outside of Ponga, which is what they have needed desperately. And that's not me saying the young gun is the team's second best player, because you got Gaga, you got Frizzell, who is having a career resurgence playing at lock. But every time Sharp has touched the ball in these opening 2 rounds, he has looked absolutely electric. Every time the Knights got a roll on against the Finns, he was always there, threatening out wide and in the middle of the ruck. And look, we can admit he is nowhere near close to being the strongest player on the field. He's still only 20 years old. But when you have that speed and acceleration off the mark, you become a threat every time you run the football. And he was making some of the most experienced defenders like Gafusi in the entire NRL look like second graders. I would be getting very excited, Knights fans, because while it may have seemed like an extremely short-lived run at 5'8", I think your team may have just finally found their second biggest attacking threat outside of Kalen Ponga. And really, ever since Mitchell Pearce had left, Kalen Ponga had to be the best player on his footy team to win. But now when Kalen Ponga isn't at his best, Sharp can be that man who can pull off the X-Factor play to help Newcastle win those tight games. Ponga not at his best though. I can't see that not happening for a while, because while I am glazing Fletcher Sharp like he's a young Krispy Kreme donut just waiting for some original glaze, Kalen Ponga was by far the best player on that field tonight. KP had a hand in nearly every try, 3 line break assists, and he had 202 running meters. But what has to be most exciting for Knights fans is just how much he's looking for the contact and willing to put his body on the line. Don't you worry, Knights fans. I am touching the most insane amount of wood while I say this, at least until Origin. When Ponga was having all these concussion problems over the last few years, it was never that I felt he was avoiding contact, but it just was scary every time there was a bump to his head, every time he made a tackle, every time he took a big hit. You were just worried that Kalen Ponga had done something again to his concussion, because they were close to ending his career so young at one point. Now though, in his beautiful blue and navy shiny headgear, he is whacking blokes, and you can see as a leader, you can tell how much Ponga just does really love Newcastle, and he is ready for himself and the club to start winning some proper finals footy games. But for as good as Kalen Ponga and Fletcher Sharp were, the Newcastle's piggies, those forwards, ran a muck over those Dolphins. The Dolphins had no answer. You'd probably say Leo Thompson would be the main man of that Newcastle pack, but Jacob Saifidi and then Adam Elliott from the bench were insane. They just front-loaded with their defense, and it made the Dolphins play off absolutely no momentum and made their attack look absolutely trash. Then you had Marju and Nick's brother James of Schiller fame. They just laid the platform. Schiller made 11 tackle breaks last week, and then Marju made 11 tackle breaks against the Dolphins last night. So both those guys are setting the platform better than any team in the competition has so far. I know it's only round 2, but if it was only round 2, then why even bother making a video? The scoreline very much flatters the Dolphins because Newcastle played them completely all across the park, and the Dolphins sucked. I know Katoa scored 2 tries, but I'm going to be a hater. Because as the halfback, with Cody Nikorima, they look just as clunky and boring as they did last week. I mentioned how every time Sharp or Ponga got the ball, it felt like something was about to happen. The Dolphins would have been dreaming they had anything like that, and that's a team that has my beloved Herbie Farnworth in it, and Mark Nichols, dare I say, is the only one who looks like a try-scoring threat. Maybe the Finns will bounce back from this 0-2 start. I did predict them to get the wooden spoon, so I'm not going to hate on them more because that would just be un-rugby league-like because we all love the Finns and it is only round 2. So for the moment, I'm going to give them the pass. I will say though, Avarillo has been so disappointing since going to the Finns, and for my Supercoach team, tell that bro to please figure it out. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching once again. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already. Where do you think Fletcher Sharp fits in for the Newcastle Knights going forward? Can the Knights play finals? Feel free to drop all those opinions in the comments and let you know how much you hate Rangers. So do the big 3 and I'll see you in the next one.